Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Build Your Copywriting Business podcast. Hello, friends.
Hello.
Hello. As always, I am joined by my co-host, the dazzling Kate Sittars.
Mm.
Hello, Kate.
Hello, hello.
Hello. And today we have the pleasure of being joined by the equally dazzling and also very intelligent and fun Amber Smith. Hello, Amber.
Hi, Nikki and Kate. Thank you so much for having
Oh my
me.
goodness, thank you for being here. We wanted to talk to Amber because she is a copywriter. She's been a copywriter for 15 years. Not only does she work individually one-to-one with clients, she also has a copy agency. And we're going to talk about certainly about her back in her story, but we really want to dig into today is her experience with AI. What is she seeing with clients? What kind of questions are clients asking her? What is it really like working with clients in this age of AI? So that's what we'll dig into today. Starting with, of course, Amber, tell us about yourself. How did you, and I realize you have been in copywriting for a while, but how did you kind of get into it?
Okay, I'm gonna date myself. I got my first job copywriting off Craigslist. I was writing product copy for Chico's in White House Black Market in Soma. They had a product studio in Florida. So I came on and started writing product copy out of the studio on the days when there were shoots. And I would go home and work on it. And I was like, I like this remote hybrid thing. And this was back in 2009. So after that, like we got along really well. They transferred me to the New York office, and that's really where things took off. I stayed working with them until they closed the New York office a couple of years later. And that is where the freelance copywriting journey began. I have been freelancing ever since that on my own, and that was about 2013. So I went on to Victoria's Secret and Taylor, Nine West, Clinique, C1, the Tula Cora's, like just a wealth of retail, beauty, fashion. And I also worked with Simon Property Group, which I found really fascinating because they own a lot of the malls. So I really got to see retail from two sides of the
Yeah.
spectrum. And I feel like I've just been really blessed to get to work with those clients. And a couple of years ago, I officially founded my agency, moved out to the West Coast, and dove into AI. So here we are today.
Yay, so
Yeah.
exciting. So exciting. And as you say that, as you're talking, I'm like, oh, I think actually technically the way I got one of my very first freelance clients was like printing up postcards and sending it, like going to the library and getting mailing lists and sending out postcards. So yes, I hear you talking about dating ourselves.
Like Craigslist is still around, right?
Is it?
I
It
don't
is.
know.
It
I don't
is.
know.
Yes.
It's a different place then than it is
I
now, I
bet.
feel like.
Yeah. So, getting in, really just jumping in with both feet into AI. What kinds of things have you been hearing from clients? What kinds of questions do they have? What kinds of things are they saying about it, kind of on the front lines, so to speak?
I'm sure you've gotten this question most often from clients is, can ChatGPT replace a copywriter yet? And my answer is always take a deep breath. Remember before you answer. No, I appreciate the question. ChatGPT is nowhere near being able to replace a copywriter, but I'm happy to help you understand how you can train your copywriters to use these tools more effectively to really help you guys, get your brand amplified.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's always kind of I understand the panic, right? And this is something that we see. I'm sure that your family members send you probably the same articles that our family members send us and our students get. They're like, this person doesn't have a job anymore because like, okay, thank you. And we see that panic and it's understandable. And part of the reason that we see all those articles is because people are interested in those articles and they get shared. So then the news media is like, all right, let's write more articles about this. People are clearly interested, which makes sense, absolutely. But it certainly does not help. It doesn't help calm down all of this like overblown ideas of AI taking everything over. I mean, you really only have to interact with AI just a little bit to go, wow, this is really cool. But wow, it has some really, really big flaws. Yeah.
Exactly. You said in an episode that I think your mom had called you and was worried about your job. And I absolutely have been there. Every family member, everyone I talk to, as soon as they say I'm a copywriter and have a copy agency, it's like, oh, what about AI? And, well, I'm getting interviewed on the spot. I'm happy to
Yes.
officially be doing it today.
Yeah, exactly.
On the record.
On the
But I feel
record.
like, I don't know if you both are hearing this now too. I feel like the more of what I hear is AI is not going to replace, it's going to replace people, but it's going to replace the people who don't know how to use AI to be more efficient, to do their job better. So I'm curious, Amber, because you've jumped in and are using it so much. What's your take on that? And how are you working with your copywriters to be able to use it? In what ways are you using it?
I'm using it all the time now. The ways I've used it have really changed over the last couple of years. Yeah, I'm working on getting them up to speed. I have developed sort of like a training course for them that I'm really shopping with corporations. I recently held a course with Clinique's copywriters.
Mhm.
So my approach, if I have writers taking the long ways, I would love for them to learn about large language models, just like a little bit of the basics of how they work, because I found the more I learn, the less threatened I feel, the more confident I am that my job is not going to be replaced. I say this all the time. If clients knew what they want, I would be worried. But clients don't know what they want. So it's
Amen.
I love
exactly like
that.
that's a big part of our job is interpreting the need. And that's something AI cannot do. Another thing copywriters can do that AI cannot and a client cannot is have a little bit more foresight through our experience of what some of the pain points are going to be for the customer journey in that particular product, if it's retail copy, for example. Whereas AI is not going to have even understand that you would need to have that thought process. So
Exactly.
what you're getting back is really, I think a lot of people struggle that they get these responses that aren't usable. That's what I hear from a lot of writers is, how do I get a response I can use? And to that, I say there's a lot of things that you can be doing. I think one of my biggest pet peeves is I see copywriters and just regular people alike open ChatGPT and just start prompting, and they open a new chat every single time. For me, when I get a new client, I start one chat and then I keep all of future chats in that same thread. And that's how you start getting usable responses. And you can train it on the brand voice. I mean, at this point, I have some AI channels that have been around for almost 2 years, and my responses are very usable. If anything, I'm like, oh, I love this and I love this, but which one, should I polish and move forward? So my advice, if you're getting started, is just to jump right in. Just go to chat.openai.com, start a free account. It's free
Yeah.
and just start prompting. If you don't know what to say, ask it what it to say. Like, I love that. It will teach you how to use it. So that's you could just keep, just start using it, or you could take my path as I took a couple certifications, I got my confidence up and I really dug into the history and how the machines work on the back end so that as a writer, I could then really understand how to better speak to it on the front end. And that is what I try to kind of bring other copywriters into. It's like, not just how to use it. You see these articles or like the 10 perfect prompts. And for me, that's almost a waste of time because every prompt is going to be so unique and individual. There's not a lot,
Yeah.
prompts to memorize. So yeah, I know there's a lot there, but
Like the idea too that if everybody is using the same prompt, everybody is getting roughly the same information back. Like the example we use, and I should say, CCA students, you guys know that you have an AI course within the CCA. So certainly explore, but start there. But the idea of like if two different yoga studios are putting the exact same prompt into ChatGPT, ChatGPT is going to give them the same stuff back. So I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand, that it's not just you and ChatGPT all alone in the world. It's ChatGPT and 400 million users every single week, and there's going to be so much repetition, so much more than people even can conceive of it.
So true.
I'm
Yeah.
curious. You mentioned because I don't know can you give us some high level idea of how it
Same
does
thing.
work on
Yeah.
the back end? Like
I know.
I elves, I assume they're little elves with magnifying glasses, and
With
that's
little pitchforks.
it's roughly it,
Yeah,
right? Like magic and pixies and
that's it.
fairies. It's
That's it.
yeah.
I wish. You touched on this, I think, in one of your episodes on AI, and it was dead on that it is just predicting the most likely next word in a sentence. So essentially, it's a copywriter calculator. It's not thinking whatsoever on the back end. It's firing, it's built on the neural network, which is just like your brain. So it's firing off these layers of little agents to go find that information, but it's doing that all at once. So like if a calculator was doing that sequentially, you would be doing it step by step by step, which is why the latest breakthroughs in AI are so important because it's able to layer all of that research and come up with an output in seconds, as you can see, which is exactly what the human brain does. So you want to make a decision, you make a decision in a split second, but you take in so many things before you open the door to walk outside. You're going phone, wallet, keys, dogs, shoes, where am I going? How am I going to park? You have all these things swirling in your brain, and it all happens simultaneously. And that is where we are with the large language model technology that you see today. There's a great article. There's a lot of great articles from the New York Times, from different resources that really show you how it's trained. There's a great example they call baby GPT. So they start a large language model from scratch and train it just on Harry Potter books, just on Harry Potter books. And so you watch how it's learning the language. And the first response you get, just letters all in a row. There's nothing there. You train it 100 more times, you start to get letters in word shapes. You train it 100 more times, you start to get words like the, of, a. You train it 500 more times, you start to get words like Hermione, wand, but you're still getting words that completely don't exist until it finally gets to a point where it is able to write just like J.K. Rowling. And what goes into that is a lot of refined human training, a lot of training the machine, a lot of time and a lot of money to do that kind of thing. So it's a little bit of the back end on how it works.
Yeah, super interesting. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So I'm curious too with how, I love what you said about, the 10 prompts to use with ChatGPT. Like, is that a starting point? Sure. But I think to your point, it needs to be so specific. It's specific to your client and your brief and what you know about the client, what you've done. For me, at least, I feel like I've been using it daily now, quite frankly, but I'll often to put something in that I feel like is good and to be like, ask pointed questions. And I really have to break it down. Like, I can't just throw a whole sales page in there, for example, and have it give me something back. It's a very pointed, like, here's this headline, here's what I'm trying to do with it, here's the strategy behind it. That's how I'm using it. I'm curious, what ways are you using it and to get something that is to that usable point, and how much do you iterate on that as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So keeping your prompts super short, whatever they are, is always the best practices. Now, sometimes do I ramble on and on? Yes, and it's a miracle that I get a good response from it. But another tip that I would say is when I say like there's 10 prompts, like there is one sole prompt that I tend to go to every time I'm starting a new project or a new client. And I say, I am a world-class copywriter in beauty. I, have an audience of millennials. I have a very strategic mind. I know a lot about, you know, dermatology and sunscreen. I don't like to be redundant. And then I give it a prompt, like write me a product description for a new moisturizer with SPF. So I've set a persona on that channel that it more or less will retain just because I'm keeping it in that world. And that is a great prompt that I use. And then to get something more usable from that, because of course it's going to give me something like imagine what a beauty copywriter first draft would be.
Yeah.
Then I like to do something, I'm calling this counterprompting. I don't know if it's a thing. But I say, okay, now write that same product description as if a dermatologist with a degree from Harvard wrote it. So then I get a completely different product description. So I have one that's very fluffy, very scientific, and then I go back in and I say, okay, now I want the beauty copywriter to rewrite the dermatologist's response. And that is where I really start to get something usable, because it knows that it wants that scientific aspect and it has all of that research that it just did, and it can quickly pick up off of that and rewrite it and say, okay, now I'm the beauty writer again. So this boring scientific answer just needs to have that little human pizzazz that we, are known for adding.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great idea. I think I'm interested if you find yourself doing the same thing, but I will often use ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, you want to use, when when I'm trying to write copy in the middle of the afternoon and I know that's not the time, but I have to get something done. If I've kind of hit a speed bump and I'm like, all right, I need something, give me something to work from so that I'm not starting with a blank page. But I've also found that there's some times when I think I could take the time to write a prompt, but it would be faster for me to just actually write the copy than it would be to write the prompt. Have you found that same thing for yourself? Hey there, it's Nikki. I wanted to take a very quick minute to make sure that you knew about our free on-demand copywriting training. Now, whether you are brand new to copywriting or you've been doing it for a while, but you just can't seem to hit those income goals, this training is for you. You are going to learn the 3 secrets to landing freelance copywriting work without relying on frustrating job bidding sites like Upwork or Fiverr, or without cold calling strangers. And if you've watched any of the student success stories on this channel, and if you haven't yet, check them out. This is the exact same training that they all started with. And I mean students like Kate K, who is making 6 figures working part-time and retired her husband to help her build her business. Students like Stewart, who replaced his full-time salary, which was a good one, with his freelance income and then some. Stacy, who hit 6 figures in her first 6 months as a freelance copywriter, and Ashley, who landed the in-house copywriting job of her dreams. They all started with this free training, and you can start with this free training too. So sign up right now at freecopywritingtraining.com.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Definitely not to dissuade any of our years of experience, even if you're just starting out as a human copywriter. I have to put the word human in front of it now. It's just, there are things that we're always going to be able to do faster. Product copy, that's an example that I keep using, because it's such a good one to always come back to, and the clients can really understand. I'm going to write product copy faster than ChatGPT almost every time. I've been doing this for so long. I know all of the cliches, all of the potholes you could step into. And when I give it to ChatGPT, one of the biggest risks is hallucinating. And I know you guys have talked about that. And it's not something I think clients have fully understood how common it is, how easy it is to happen, and how you're very legally responsible for putting any kind of false advertising out there. So when I want
Or clients are, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely legally responsible. Chat AI is treated as an employee, set by a precedent in a case with United Airlines. So it's absolutely an employee that puts in anything out there, you're held responsible for it. So if I want to write a product description for a white t-shirt, it's going to start saying it's cashmere imported from Mongolia because it wants to, do a great job. It's not cashmere. You do the same thing with lipstick. Oh, it's jojoba oil and luscious moisturizing. It's not in there. You can't say that.
Well, it's like, did you see I think it was I'm not going to quote the right newspaper, but the article that got syndicated with
the Chicago Sun-Times.
Sun-Times. That's what I knew. Chicago. Yes. And it's fake books that Isabel Allende never wrote. And I can't believe, first of all, I couldn't believe there weren't checks before then to get there, but what?
I think the term hallucinating is so cute. It's
It's
such a
so
nice way
good.
of being like, it's just hallucinating. No, it is making stuff up. It is just making stuff up, and it's fascinating.
It really, really is. And I've tried to understand a little bit about why it does that. And so basically the understanding that I have is, say I ask for a recipe for pesto and it hallucinates cilantro instead of parsley. How could it possibly do that? My understanding is that on the back end, perhaps the word cilantro appears more often with the word olive oil than parsley. And that's where this becoming a prediction model is so important, because the words red lipstick and jojoba oil have been used in combination so many times. It grabs that information. That's a little bit of insight into how that's happening, but incredibly dangerous for companies to just put out there without proofreading.
Yes, exactly. Well, and on top of the fact that it's going to get worse, because as uh as errors are introduced into the system and it keeps reproducing those errors become mass generated and it ends up effectively feeding on itself. I was having a conversation with someone and I was saying AI is not going to replace writers. AI needs writers in order to survive, because otherwise, eventually, it's just feeding on itself and reintroducing and repopulating mass errors. Um,
Exactly. I've heard you say that before. You guys made the point that it's not original. No, it's not original. It's never going to produce an original idea. And I think us as copywriters are very well poised to be the stewards of AI and to be the ones who are really the quickest to understand prompt engineering, how to really talk to it and really how to get the language that you want back from it. I'm excited for us. I know a lot of people are scared. They have their reasons, like you said, I think you need to be learning how to use these skills. People are graduating from college now into the workforce with these hard skills, expecting to use it. So we could be pushed out of the market if you're not, but it's probably still a few years. I think at least 10
mhm.
years. I mean, it takes 10 years for social media, 10 years for e-commerce. Like those seem like these big things that happen really quickly. But I had clients who were online for the longest time. I have clients that are still just being like, okay, brick and mortar after the pandemic is really the nail in the coffin for them, or not the nail in the coffin, but really the like fire that lit them to finally take e-commerce seriously.
Forcing function.
2020.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So yeah, it's definitely a learning curve, and we're still very much at the beginning of the hype. Really talking
Mhm.
about this. Literally, I've learned about this since I started research. It's called Gartner's hype scale, and it's very applicable to technology, where people get super hyped, and then reality hits, and you have this drop off, and all
Yeah.
this magic that we were promised never happens. AI winter has happened multiple times.
Yeah. Well,
Nothing
and
new.
it's fascinating for me to see the waves of hype as both a business owner and then also as a consumer, because we all know in the industry there was really like 2 years ago that like the big names in business started to be like, whoa, maybe AI is gonna replace people. And then even like a year ago, they started to kind of dial that back and be like, oh no. But the consumers were just starting to pick up on it. So a year ago is really when the consumers started to go, oh my gosh, it's going to. So now that we are hearing all of the business people say, like, AI, you're not, yeah, what is that line? I heard it on on a podcast again this morning. Someone big who said AI is not going to replace you. Someone who knows how to use
Yes.
AI will replace you.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
now that's what all the business
That's
owners are
now
saying.
the
So I just can't wait for the
yeah. What's the
consumers to
next?
finally catch up to that and be like, oh, I don't have to worry. I just have to learn how to use it. Exactly. And that's what we're trying to do, the three of us, as we talk
Use
to,
it.
yes, as we talk to our community, as you work with your copywriters, Amber, is dig in and give it a try. Everything is scary until you try it and then you go, oh,
Oh,
okay. And again, CCA students, if you're like, I wouldn't even know how to begin to use it, there's a course. We've got a course for you. It's part of the CCA. Just dig in, take it step by step, and just
also, there's no way
experiment
to
with it.
fail with it when you're
Yeah.
just using it on your own, right? I mean,
No.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. Pretty risk-free, pretty harmless. And
Mhm.
I was terrified. Like, I may seem confident now, but I had sleepless nights. I had just launched a copywriting agency, and a few months later, here comes ChatGPT, and everyone's telling me copywriting is going to be extinct. And now I have writers that I feel more responsible for coming to me and saying the same thing. So that was really what motivated me to start, taking courses. And I think that's a really good way to start if you think you want to be serious about it, or if you think you're remotely interested in it. But if you're one of those people who's like, I'm never going to do this, just start trying. Just start
Mhm.
with the
Well,
chat GPT itself.
especially
and
because any field you're going to need it. Like,
Mhm.
All
not just
industries. It's not just
copywriters. Yeah.
Mhm.
every industry. Lawyers are choking in their boots.
Yes, yes. Actually, I clicked through because I'm always trying to stay. Actually, really, I'm trying to stay on top of like what articles are getting big, and I'm going to hear about it in the Facebook group and have to be like, well, guys, if you actually read this article, it's anyway. So I got a prompt for these are the top two industries that are going to be decimated by AI, and of course, I'm like, all right, well, let me check and see what it was, and it was lawyers and accountants. And first of all, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna have to talk anybody off a ledge in the Facebook group. But but it's that same thing. It's not going to replace lawyers. It's going to replace lawyers who know how to use it are going to replace lawyers who don't. And same thing, accountants who don't know how to use it are going to be replaced by accountants who do know how to use it. It's a tool. And anytime that any industry had a new tool, I mean, throughout human civilization, you learn how to use the tool to make your life better. If you ignore the tool, you do so at your own peril.
That's really true. Like a couple thoughts there. But I mean, who's going to hire a machine for a lawyer if you're
Right? Like,
facing death row? This is a talking point I hear a lot, that yes, it can pass the bar exam. It surpassed humans, and the amount of time it can pass the bar exam and the amount that it gets correct. I have seen an autopiloted car get stuck in a parking lot for hours. A 4-year-old can get out of a parking lot. So hard things are easy, but really easy things are hard. So it's really not going to replace, I don't think, humans probably ever.
that's such a great point. Like
Yeah.
if you're drafting up, I'm trying to think of a contract. I don't know why I'm going this direction because but worst case scenario, if you're drafting up, say, a divorce agreement, right?
I
Like
was just thinking the same
you
thing.
like you want to
I
work
want a
with a
human.
human, right? Like there's some things that you just and I think that that's something that businesses. I mean, we know, right? We love our clients. But often clients leave messaging to the end because they don't want to have to think about it, especially small business owners. They leave it to the end because they don't really want to think about it. But the fact that messaging is the most important part of your business, I think that this is helping people to understand that this is not something that they can leave till the end anymore. It's way too important. And I think too, the clients who are only leaning on AI are going to discover really, really quickly just how important messaging is when they outsource it completely to the robots.
Well, they
Yeah.
can't though. Who's prompting the robot in the first place? Like
Exactly. It's AI is always going to need this. Like I've had a lot of conversations with it about future down the road.
hmm
Humans are always going to be a part of it. Will our relationship be more symbiotic? Will it look different? Yes. But you're always going to need AI. There's always going to need to be a human in the loop. I went to an exhibit at the Peterson Auto Museum about Tesla cars. Please keep in mind, this is pre
Mm,
meltdown.
yeah.
But there was a great point, and that's really where I think human in the loop was conceived, was they tried to automate with just robots, one of the like gigafactories in Texas. It was the biggest waste of money because there were no humans there if something went wrong. And so by the end of the day, they're looking at their cars put together like a Lego. They had to, I mean, they took the program down in about 6 months because if a machine broke, a human has to come in and fix it. If a machine is off by a quarter of an inch for the day's
Yes.
production, you have to scrap so much material, and small businesses cannot afford to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe Tesla can, but it's really important to remember the human always needs to be in the loop, but we do need to embrace this technology. I hear a lot of people compare it to the printing press. I have to agree. Like, the pen didn't put the chisel out of business.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a new tool. But imagine seeing the printing press as a writer back during the Enlightenment and being like, that's not for me. I'm
No.
sure there were some.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure there
Sure.
were.
Sure.
But
With every innovation, right? Like, oh, the internet, that's a passive. Any innovation, there always something you can find, a quote that's like, electricity, this won't last. Anything. But yeah, you're right. You have the opportunity. You can fight it, or you can embrace it and use it. Mhm.
exactly.
So I'm curious, at least in the past few, I feel like this changes all the time, but I call it the AI spectrum, with clients being either on one end where they are go ahead, try it, use it, please. And then clients on the other end who legally, whatever requirements are like, no, we do not want anyone in our organization using this. And they're still figuring out kind of what their rules are around it. Have you experienced any of that with your clients?
Yeah, I would say cat's out of the bag. I'm sure that the legal team would love for this to not be happening, but the truth is they're going to be using it.
Mhm.
You tell your company that they can't use AI, guess who's going to keep using AI? Your third-party vendors, the influencers who are writing blog posts for you, the when you post a Facebook advertisement, they're testing AI on the back end. You don't need to approve that. You know, I've seen my copy, I've gotten results back from my human copy tested against their robot copy, and the human copy still won. And when I asked to see the robot versions they put out there, God, I was just horrified. As someone with brand standards, there was like multiple exclamation points, words randomly capitalized, and it was for an elevated client. And I was like, wow, like, you're really actually damaging the brand by putting that out there and just testing it. So as a company, you have no control over that. Like, I'm lucky they even shared the results with me. So there's no way to keep AI out of your business anymore. I haven't had a lot of, I have more clients just not talk about it at all. But I do have some forward-thinking clients. Like I said, Clinique, I worked with the copywriters there. I have another client, and I'm working with them now to get an AI first program off the ground. Maybe you guys will appreciate this. Creative brief, AI first. I'm trying so hard. Like,
Interesting.
I am like fighting for information my whole life to get
Yes.
for marketers, and it hasn't gotten better. Like,
Yeah.
it's, I've been in this for 15 years.
I know.
I had to get better.
The
So
fact that you have to still ask for a creative brief, you're like, why?
We were
just talking
about this before you got it. Just
Literally.
talking about this. Yes.
do you know who writes the best creative brief? ChatGPT. Like, I show them an experiment with a real creative brief. And again, we know you have to be careful. You can't put in creative briefs for future products. You could leak it to the public.
Yes.
This was a really unimportant brief. It was a product that was already live. So I drop it in there and I showed it to the creative director. And I was like, imagine if we got this brief instead of this brief. And she was like, game changing. And I was like, I know. So now we're partnering with IT and having conversations about how we can make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a great way. That another way to use it is that we can teach ChatGPT or AI or whichever one you want to use what questions to ask us. You know, if you every time you need to come up with a project quote. If you sit down and go, oh, okay, you can teach it to ask you, okay, what kind of a project is it? How long do you think it's going to take you? How long do you think it's going to edit? Are there any yellow flags that indicate this client might be a little bit slower to respond, or need a little bit more handholding? How many meetings do you think? And you can answer this. It can help guide you to answer this so that at the end it will say, okay, this looks like this project's going to take you 22 hours. And, exactly. I think the more creative we get with AI and really look at, okay, where are things that are taking time in my business? What do I drag my feet on? What do I, like, I mean to do this and I haven't done it. is there, maybe AI can't do it for you completely, but is there something it could help you with? Or is there something it could, like I was saying, even just answering questions to it can be so much easier than just sitting down and figuring it out yourself. But I think anything in our businesses is that is taking up time or slowing us down or any, there's at least the opportunity to see how AI can help you. Now, obviously, we're copywriters, so it can't be writing your pitches for you. It can't be, because that is the first, that is your putting yourself out to a client. The first thing that you put out to a client needs to be something that you actually write, and it can't be writing your copy for you. But can it help you do market research? Can it help you identify your client's brand voice? Can it help you identify words and phrases that they use a lot? And maybe you don't go at AI first, maybe because you're a professional, you take a first pass at it and you give and then give AI a shot and see if it notices anything that you didn't notice, or see if it comes back with a result that makes you go, well, that's very wrong. How did you come up with that? Because maybe there's something out there that you're not aware. All that I'm saying was a whole big long diatribe, but there is an opportunity to have fun and get creative with AI and how we use it. It doesn't just have to be, I need a headline for this page, which obviously as copywriters, we wouldn't do that to begin with. We write them. We'll, yes, we can get copy responses and maybe we can play with them. And certainly we would never just send through AI to our clients. But aside from like the idea of writing copy, it's such a small, first of all, the writing is such a small thing of what we do. We've already talked about that. But it's also, the writing is just a small thing of what AI can do. There are all kinds of ways that it can help us in our businesses, that just get creative with it.
100%. No, I love the enthusiasm. It's rare. And so I really appreciate how much you both embrace it and you're trying to lead by that example and let people know that it's not just, the guts and the boring stuff, that the whole point of using generative AI in the workplace at the scale that companies are now wanting us to is to free up more time. Sure, and I'm sure some of them have ideas that it can cut headcount down the road, but they want us to have more time to do more creative work. So I don't know about you. I'm bogged down these days. Like from where I started in my career to where I am now, I spend most of my time answering emails, deciphering client briefs, market research, everything you just named. And now that I've been able to hand that off to ChatGPT, more or less different times, I feel like a little bit like my old self again. Like I can take time to read some articles. Like that's part of my job, is to stay, up to date on things. Or I can take some time to, like, it's silly, but I have like a little coloring book and it's like little fashion stencils. But to me, that is like very important to like getting my creative juices flowing. And like, who knows why I feel like coloring a dress gave me an idea for a campaign about dresses, but it did. And I have that time again to just like creatively wonder. And it can be with ChatGPT, it can be without ChatGPT. All I know is ChatGPT is the one giving me the time back. So I'm a fan.
Yes, absolutely.
And to your point about people that might be looking to cut heads, I think what I was thinking about the other day is like, those are the companies that are going to do that anyway. And we say that a lot. Like if they're going to find a way to cut you, they're going to find a way to cut you. That's not who we want to be working for anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
No.
companies are always looking for easy buttons. And I don't blame them necessarily. I think probably the messaging of your company should not be the place that you're looking to make it, to find an easy button. But there are always going to be companies looking to do things easier, cheaper, all that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Unfortunately, that is the truth. And that's what you saw at the Hollywood writing strikes. What I thought interesting was that they're fighting against having AI develop scripts without a human. So, and a lot of other things, but just from the perspective of writers, they wanted to make sure there's always a lead human writer, a writer team, but there had to always be human writers working on any project. And it really got me thinking, copywriters don't have that representation. We don't have a union. We don't have newspapers asking us our opinion about this very often. So we're the ones on the front lines with our clients trying to help them understand exactly what you're saying, that you do not want to gamble your brand's soul on a
Mhm.
free piece of software.
Mhm.
I just,
Yeah, I agree. Well, and I think that sometimes the best way to demonstrate the difference is just by doing our jobs, because you kind of mentioned this at the beginning of our talk today, but you were talking about, us digging into the client's project in ways that they hadn't thought of before. Like, how many times have you sat down with a client, like putting together the parameters of the project, you're just trying to understand what they're trying to do, and you ask them a question and they go, oh, I've never thought about it that way before. Oh, I never considered that. You're not going to get that from ChatGPT. You just can't. And just by doing our jobs as professionals, we can help demonstrate to our clients what the difference is.
exactly. I mean, just a tagline for a company can be a game changer. ChatGPT is not going to write, just do it. And if it did, you wouldn't trust it.
Yeah.
So, you need that Don Draper moment sometimes. And that's another thing I wanted to bring up is I've never been that Don Draper kind of copywriter until I started using ChatGPT. I'm the kind of writer that I like, you give me a project, I need to take some time, research it, run through my formulas. Like, does it rhyme with anything? Is there alliteration? What cultural context is this? And then I can come up with a brilliant tagline and show it to you tomorrow, next week, whatever the deadline is. I'm not pitching those, lines out in meetings until now with ChatGPT, because I can train it on what my process is. I get that usable content so much faster that I'm able to actually shout out a tagline in the meeting and have that good feeling of everyone being like, yeah, that's it. Like, check if it's been used, but yeah, that's it. And I'm like, thank you, ChatGPT. Like, I would have gotten there. Great tagline, great writer, but I didn't have the time. And it took all that time to do the exact same thing I was going to do. So it's really making me look like a better creative. And that's always a good employee. Like, the best employees are the ones making you look
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. And I love that idea of time. Like, because creativity and strategy does take time, right? It takes time, it takes energy, it takes a fresh perspective. And if we can let AI take the little stuff off our plates and the stuff that maybe even drains energy, then great. We have so much more to give to the parts of our job that are the most fulfilling and the most exciting and the most fun, and quite frankly, too, the most valued by our clients.
Exactly.
And I think just thinking of this too, we were just talking about Facebook in particular and how it just needs to be fed so much creative all the time to keep up with the demand. And so I think there's an element too. Well, if things take less time, won't there be less work because less copywriters needed? I think there's this fear that less copywriters will be needed, but there's so many projects every business has that they can't get through. Like, there will always be more. I feel like there's this feeling that we'll get to a point where we finish and okay, all the projects are done. And yeah, and please go to YouTube and watch Amber's reaction to that,
I know,
because
I
that
love
is
that.
Is that what enlightenment feels like?
Like, wow, right?
but
Right?
like
But that's the prime example. Amber's face, and it's the prime example because what we have here is three people who run copywriting businesses. We are lousy with copywriters. We've got more copywriters than we know what to do with. And we all have to-do lists that we can't possibly even begin to make a dent in. And it's like there's so much writing to be done. And we are not big companies. We're successful companies. We're not big ones. Just imagine how much work there is out there, because there are millions of companies and organizations, and we copywriters can't get through the copy that needs to be written. Yes.
Exactly. We're not going anywhere. And if anything, ChatGPT is only potentially going to increase the need for copywriters, because one of the things I see retailers like really excited about is personalization. You've opened this whole new
Yeah.
world of personalization
Yeah.
up. And what you're doing is increasing assets, and you are taking one asset and now it's 20, 30 assets. That's more work for the writer to have to prove. That's more work, even if you're working with AI. Your asset list just went from 1 to 30 for one slice. Like
Yeah.
imagine the
Times
amplification.
100.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think what really put me at ease when I was learning about the large language models in the beginning was an article about ATMs coming out in the 70s. And everyone was saying, this is the end of bank tellers. This is the end of banks. They're gonna, it's gonna derail the economy because they're putting banking out of business. I'm sorry, like fast forward to 2025, we have more bank tellers than ever. We have more banks than ever. All that happened was more people had access to their money. So more people started using it. And I think the same thing is going to happen with ChatGPT. More people have access to start businesses. They have more access
Yes.
to launch their dreams than they've ever had before. It's really fascinating. I think we're going to see just so many, booms. We talk about the breakthroughs in AI, if it's in the health field, if it's in, the legal field, the accounting field. Getting that message out there is going to take a force of writers. Like, thank goodness we have large language model to help us do it.
Yeah. This is just
Project scheduled out to Q1 2026.
Yeah, right.
So I feel like if I could get those up
Exactly.
a little sooner, that'd be great.
Exactly.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Well, Amber, this has been wonderful, and I want to respect your time because I could sit here and talk about this
Continue
for
the conversation.
hours more. I'm loving this.
Anytime.
Yes, we might have to have you come back again because
Yes.
this was so much fun. But if someone is curious and maybe they just want to know more about you or more about your agency, where can people find you?
Yep, I'm at copyamber.com, and all of my Instagram and my TikTok is also at copyamber.com. I don't think anyone's on Threads, so you can find me, but
I end up scrolling sometimes early in the morning or late at night, but yes, I keep meaning
exactly.
to get on. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this was really, really informative, certainly, but also just it's so fun to talk shop with another pro. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing your expertise and your perspective. I know that everybody listening is going to feel hopefully a lot calmer about AI and also
Ready to experiment.
more excited. Exactly. Ready to
Yeah.
experiment. Yeah. So thank
Well,
you. Thank you so much for being here.
And thank you guys so much for having me. I love the show, and you will have to let me know. I want to hear that more people are signing up for that
Yes.
course and getting into AI. So
Yes. Yes. Everybody.
keep me
let
the
us know.
human in the loop.
Yes.
Yes.
Amber is our human in the loop. Yes.
Exactly.
And so with that, we will catch you all in the next episode. Bye, everybody. Like what you heard? Hit subscribe so you never miss a video. And if you're ready to take the first step toward becoming a copywriter yourself, sign up for a free video training right here.